Corey Scarborough with Occidental, and I'm excited and honored to be here today to introduce our research team, RT398, fit-for-purpose tools for implementing CII best practices and managing complexity. Joining me today will be Gongfeng Chen, soon to be assistant professor at the University of North Carolina, Charlotte, Roya Albalul, PhD student from North Carolina State University, Jan Fessel with Black & Veatch, Michael Hampton with TVA, and Nate Curl with Deloitte. Our agenda for you today will be as follows. I'm going to start us off with our vision and objective. Next, Gongfeng and Roya will go into the methodology behind each of our tools. Then Jan and Michael will provide some real-life use cases that they've implemented with the tools at their organizations. After that, Nate's going to give an exciting bonus feature using Power BI that I think everybody's really going to enjoy. And finally, I'll be back up to wrap things up and provide a path forward. So let's get started. Up first is our vision and objective. 2 years ago, CII celebrated its 40th anniversary of being the premier research and development platform for the capital projects industry. Over the years, CII has researched many topics, with 17 of those becoming best practices, which are considered the gold standard in our industry. And as we saw yesterday with RT410, these best practices bring incredible value back to the member companies, assuming they adopt them. Our vision was to optimize the way that we as member companies leverage the CII research, with the primary goal being increased visibility and ultimately adoption of the research. To do this, we wanted to create a tool that not only highlighted the 17 best practices, but also unearthed the valuable insights or key takeaways, which we call the golden nuggets, that are embedded in each of the reports. Additionally, because of the vastness of the resource library with over 4 decades of research available, we wanted to incorporate fit for purpose and project complexity. As we all know, not all projects are created equal, and not all projects need the same requirements. Therefore, we wanted to create a tool that would help bridge the user with just the specific information that they needed for his or her upcoming project. The outcome of our research was the creation of 2 new tools, the Best Practice or BP Primer, and the Project Complexity and Management Tool, which we refer to as the PCAM 2.0. With these 2 tools, we feel that with a simple push of a button, the user can now easily access and unlock the many golden nuggets that are just waiting to be adopted on their next project. This was done by AI, by the way. So how did we accomplish this? We began our journey, as I mentioned, with the primary goal of increasing visibility and ultimately adoption of the research. We started with 3 questions in mind. Question number 1, what barriers have you experienced when trying to navigate the resource library? Question number 2, how could we incorporate fit for purpose to avoid information overload? And question number 3, what role could AI serve to support these 2 goals? Okay. So with those questions in mind, we split up our group into 3 sub-teams. The first sub-team, Best Practices, focused on the development of the BP Primer tool, which would extract the golden nuggets and the associated action items. The second group, Project Complexity, was set up to try to refine the original RT305 tool to be more streamlined. And finally, the third group, Artificial Intelligence, was set up to explore how AI could be leveraged to support the other 2 groups. So, to talk more about our first sub-team, Best Practices, and go into the methodology behind it, and to introduce the first of our 2 tools, I'll hand it over to Gongfeng.
Thank you, Corey. So I guess Corey mentioned about CII Best Practices. So what is best practice? CII has done a lot of great research in the past 4 decades, and then some of them have been aggregating into 17 best practices, as shown in the left figure. So essentially, CII Best Practice is a process or method when executed effectively leads to enhance the project performance. So implementing CII Best Practice has proved to improve the efficiency and productivity, enhance quality and consistency, reduce risk and failures, improve better communication, and finally set a foundation for continuous improvement. So with the benefits of the CII Best Practice, our high-level objective is to find a way to pull out the key information from the CII Best Practice Research Report. We call it golden nuggets. So the users don't have to manually go to the website, download different PDFs, and then try to comprehend different contents to access this knowledge. So with this objective, we first collect the CII Best Practice Research Report in a PDF format. And later on, we use the artificial intelligence to review and summarize the key things for these research reports. To make sure the contents are valid, we later on use the qualitative review to make sure the contents are correct and accurate. For the validation, we first deploy in a large language model as a judge method to provide the initial score. Later on, we bring the tool to the classroom and ask the students to manually review it. Lastly, we also send the tool to SME and our team for the validation. So in the end, all the contents are aggregated into two interfaces, one in Excel, one in Power BI. So here shows our BP primer in an Excel format. There are essentially 4 levels of information the users can explore. The first level is called a BP compass, which contains horizontal different project phases and vertical 17 best practice. So the purpose is to ensure users can find the relevant best practice based on the project phases they are working on. So we also have this navigational bar that users can click on to explore the different layers of information. Let's say we click one of the expanding. So you will jump to the second layer of the information, which mainly are the summaries for each best practice and its related report. Let's use zero accident techniques as example because this is the first module we piloted, and then it has the most reports and most comprehensive content. But before doing that, as some of you who attended yesterday's presentation might already aware, RT412 is actually doing a refresh on the zero accident techniques, where they identify 16 safety excellence techniques, which is termed as a set. So our team just want to acknowledge their efforts, and then we'll think about the best way to integrate this research into our BP primer in the future. So going back to our example, you can click on this zero accident technique, so it will just pop out a Word file that shows the executive summary for zero accident technique. So you can understand this BP in a high level. So the purpose of creating such Word file is to facilitate the information sharing. So think about how easy you can copy and paste the information here somewhere else. So we also have the report level summary. Each report has the link next to the CII website if you want to dig out more information. And then each report also has this takeaway Word file. So it just contains everything from the research report summary, golden nuggets, and detailed action items. So think about how tedious you might have to aggregate such details of the information if you navigate through different interfaces through the CII website. So we aggregated all the information in this Word file for you. So let's just continue clicking the expanding. And then you will jump to the third level of the information, which are mainly the golden nuggets for each research report, as shown in these bullets. So we also spread the golden nuggets across the relevant project phases to ensure it is fit-for-purpose solution within your organization. We also have the tools related to each report. Each tool has the link next to the website if you want to dig out more details. And then let's just click on expanding again. So finally, we come to our final layer of the information, which are mainly the detailed action items for each golden nuggets, as shown in this red text. So the purpose is to provide some detailed steps to understand the golden nuggets to support the decision makings for the users. So yeah, I think this wraps up the BP primer overview. But again, think about how easily you can get different layers of information from this spreadsheet tool. We aggregated all the key information tools as well as some key takeaway Word files that you can share with your teams. So it's easier for your organization to implement the CII best practice. Now you have to see the methodology behind the BP primer. We also created another tool that you can quickly assess the project complexity. Next, I'm going to hand the mic to Roya. She'll talk about the methodology behind the complexity tool.
Thank you, Gökhan. Before we go into the complexity team's methodology, it's important to acknowledge the groundwork laid by Research Team 305. While they created a comprehensive tool that assesses and manages complexity, user feedback showed that this tool was not widely adopted. Therefore, our goal was to streamline that tool and make it more accessible and user-friendly. Our research team came up with 9 key complexity attributes, which mainly affect project success, as you can see them here on the screen. These main attributes served as the foundation for redesigning our tool. Now into our methodology. As I stated, we started with the original PCAM tool that was created by RT305. We defined the issues in that tool, explored potential solutions, and we adopted an iterative design approach to creating our tool. And then we went into the validation process. Our validation process revolved around interviews, surveys, and focus groups. Our first step was to validate our tool through our complexity subteam that was introduced by Corey, and then our whole research team. And finally, we validated our tool through our subject matter experts. In the end, we came up with a streamlined Excel-based tool that assesses and manages complexity. Now let me go a little bit into the interface of our tool. When you first open up the tool, you'll be given 4 different approaches to assess complexity to choose from. First is the streamlined general assessment, which is the quickest way to assess complexity using 14 different complexity indicators. The second approach is the per phase approach. You'll be using this approach if you're assessing a project that is not in the pre-planning phase. It's either in the construction, procurement, or designing phase. You'll just choose one of the phases, and you'll be given the complexity indicators or sub-attributes that are within that phase. The third approach is the per complexity area. This is mainly chosen if you know you'll be facing a specific issues, one of the 9 attributes, and you want to know how to manage that issue. So you'll be facing funding issues, labor issues. You just click on that complexity area or attribute and be given management strategies to manage those complexities. The fourth and final approach is the detailed general assessment. While this is the most thorough approach, it is the most time consuming because you'll be using all 37 complexity indicators that were created by Research Team 305. We'll assume that you chose this approach, and we'll see where that takes us. Well, you'll be taken to a page with all 9 complexity attributes that we already spoke about. You will choose the attributes that will be mainly affecting your project, and the sub-attributes that are relevant to that attribute will pop up on the screen. You'll keep choosing the attributes and sub-attributes that you want, and you'll be given exact management strategies to manage those complexities, which are the sub-attributes or complexity indicators. As a bonus, we connected both of our tools together, the PCAM 2.0 and the BP Primer. As you can see here, it says refer to BP Primer with a specific best practice number and a specific report number. So if you want to read a little bit more about one management strategy with the detailed action items of that management strategy, you could always refer to the BP Primer. And Michael will speak about that some more. Now let me lastly talk about the visuals of the tool. Here we have a gate chart. This gate chart represents the overall complexity score of the project. The needle here points at the medium zone, which means that the project has a moderate level of complexity. This chart will present as a quick reference for project stakeholders and decision makers. Our second diagram is a radar diagram. This radar diagram maps complexity across all 9 attributes that we spoke about in a particular project. The red shape here represents the severity level of each attribute. As you can see here, that the labor issue has the highest severity level. So project managers have to take this into consideration when allocating their resources in the pre-planning phase. The goal of this diagram is to make complexity actionable and visible. Together, both of these diagrams provide a comprehensive snapshot of project complexity, one at the overall level, for strategic guidance, and one at the attribute level for diagnostics. Now that you've heard from Gongfang and I about the methodologies behind creating those two tools, you'll hear from Jan and Michael. They'll talk about the use cases for both of these tools. Starting with Jan, she'll talk to us about the best practices use case.
Thank you, Roya. Let's advance. I'm going to share a story of Black & Veatch and our arduous journey we went through to ensure our advanced work packaging program was well planned and implemented in line with CII Best Practices. We started in 2015. We initiated a lot of CII research, started digging through loads of documents. We engaged internal stakeholders, and we even hired a third-party consultant to advise us. We uncovered a couple of key research team results, RT 272 and 319. Some of you may have been part of those research teams. Good information. We developed a package manager tool, an internal software program to use on our projects. The years are passing. We implemented the program finally for a construction project on just the work-based planning part of the program on 3 of our direct hire projects. About the same time, we participated in Research Team 365, which was promoting the use of AWP and also looking at what obstacles there are for implementation, which results from that team came in very handy for the same time we were trying to implement the tool. Finally, in 2020, we implemented or piloted the full AWP program with engineering and procurement on a large EPC project. So as you can see, it took 5 long years. I don't know if that resonates with any of you in the audience, but it was a long time to get this developed. I'm going to go through and show you how we now would use the BP Primer tool to help expedite this process for Black & Veatch, and then I'll talk a little bit about how we're using it going forward on some other things. So the first thing I would do, and some of this is Gongfang demonstrated, I'm just focused in on the AWP part of the program. So of the 17 best practices, I would choose the advanced work packaging and expand it to the 3 components. I would, oops, sorry, I shouldn't have advanced, but this, you can click on that, as Gongfang described, click on the report summary and it'll pull up that document. What I did with that was use it for sharing with my team, sharing with leadership. Because it's got all the links, we made sure, that was one of the things we focused on early on, was to make sure that we linked back to all of the CII original resources. I would then choose the second component that's designed through work-based execution and look and see which one of the golden nuggets or key takeaways that we wanted to focus on. The one that I'm choosing here is preparing a rollout plan for AWP, just for simplicity. When you expand that, it gives me 5 detailed action items. Those are exactly what we would have used in preparing our AWP program to prepare the rollout plan. These are it's down to the task level where you can take this and assign it to team members and have them go forth and figure out their plan for development and execution. At any time, you can click back on the links that are provided for the components and take it back to the CII research, reports, etc. After I shared the tool with some of the AWP leadership team members at Black & Veatch, the response was overwhelmingly positive. They thought the tool was streamlined and everything was right at your fingertips. The components and the golden nuggets were right on target. The details that come out of the action items are exactly what we would need to implement any part of the program. And the summaries were great to share with leadership and other professionals in the company. Overall, it was a big time savings. The takeaway was this: we wish we knew then what we know now, right? Okay, so we're all stressed for time, right? We need ways to streamline, expedite, enhance our ability to get things done quicker. We think the BP Primer tool is exactly that. And when Nate shows you what he's done with Power BI, it's even more slick. Going forward, Black & Veatch is going to use the BP Primer tool to help streamline and sort of check in on our processes and procedures. I sit in the construction support group with processes and procedures, and the other part of it is training, craft and staff training. So we used CII research in the beginning when we set up our constructability program. Don't get me wrong, we went through the same process. Using the BP Primer tool now to go through that and check in, it will help drive our refinement, improvement of our constructability procedure. Our procedures form the backbone for all of our training programs. So when we put together a training program, it's always supported by procedures and guides, etc. The implementation of our training programs and our procedures is measured by a scorecard that we use. This is specifically for constructability. And the scorecard the exercise that we go through and the scorecard results that we get will then help drive the continuous improvement cycle back into how can we look at CII research again, continue to improve. I guess the takeaway for me is that the tools that we've described, and you'll see again in a minute, quick and easy way to get into all the details of the research materials, the vast amount of research materials. Quick way to get in there and find what you're looking for and use them. And you always have the ability to drill further to find the right guides and pictures and graphics, and we used them all, but this is a quicker way to get there. So I'm going to hand it off to Michael, who's going to talk about TVA's implementation of both the complexity tool and the use of the BP Primer, and then we'll end with Nate, but thank you.
So Jen just walked you through how you can use the Best Practice Primer to help improve your processes and procedures, use it in continuous improvement. And we've been talking to you for about 20 minutes now, and it's time for a little audience participation. And don't worry, I'm not going to push anybody over or try to push anybody over. But I do have a simple question for you. And if you've been paying attention this week to a lot of the slides, you probably know the answer. But what does any volunteer, or just yell it out, what does CII stand for? Yeah, not today. Not today. Today it stands for Complexity Informed Implementation. And so we wanted to our task was to set out and find a tool that helped you find the best practices and helped you evaluate your complexity and put those two together. And so to demonstrate that, we worked with a project manager on a large-scale solar project, as you see in the picture there, and we ran it through the tool to evaluate where we have complexity and mitigation strategies that can help us work with those complexities. So when we did that, we came out with 5 areas with high complexity, and you see those on the screen: system integration, labor resources, stakeholder management, out-of-sequence work, and communication and public relations. And because of that, and you can see on our gauge indicator that we have a high complexity. And so that tells us with the high complexity, maybe we want to dig a little more. And so we did that. You can expand your complexity tool like Roya was showing you earlier, and you get those management strategies. So enhancing local craft, and you see the 5 there. And if you want to know a little more, right, this is just a little high-level look of what we can do. And so let's take the bottom bullet point there, strengthening technological expertise, and let's go a little deeper on that. And so when you do that, you can see it gives you ideas of what that means and what those strategies are. So develop customized specifications. So make sure you have the right specifications for your technology so you don't impact project success. Conduct constructability reviews. Ensure subcontractors undergo rigorous pre-qualification. So making sure your subcontractors' craft labor are qualified to do the work, not harming your project complexity. And then the last one there, identify tools and consumables that might harm the process. So what are your equipment and materials in your project? Make sure those equipment and materials are good so you don't hurt project integrity. And so if you want to know even more about those, you can see right underneath there's a link that says SP 34.1. And when you get to SP 34.1 and you click on it, it will take you to the CII website to grab that report and understand more about those strategies and more in detail. And so that helps you understand these research-driven strategies that are out there that you can use to enhance your ability and opportunity for project success. And so like we said before, and I'm going to say this in my best TV salesman voice, but wait, there's more. So we wanted to, like we said, we wanted to tie this model back to the best practice primer so you can see how it flows through and utilize all of the research. So if you click on that one below it, or you look at the one below it there's refer to the best practice primer. You can take that and go back to your best practice primer compass page, navigate to, and I chose 5.1 here because it's the one that complements this mitigation. So constructability, open that up to number 1 and get your golden nuggets for helping you to manage those strategies and the best practices that can do that. And so the last thing I'll leave you with around these 2 tools before we move to Nate, a lot of times we're always looking for ways to help our new project managers understand ways they can navigate and work through their projects, right? So think of this also as a tool with your company. It's also tools you can use while you're executing real life projects, but also think about as you're mentoring young project managers and young project controls, how you can take these, use a scenario-based approach with these tools, have them walk through a project, identify what complexities might be on that project, and walk all the way through to the best practice primer and find those CII best practices that can benefit them and grow in their knowledge about how we can have good project success. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Nate, and he's going to talk about the Power BI version for our research team.
Thanks, Michael. So following the development of the BP primer, our research team identified the need to have a simplified version or view of the tool to view the vast array of information that's in a complex Excel format. As for the complexity tool, we felt that the current interface was an intuitive interface and we didn't need to enhance it. So some benefits of the current Excel tool is that professionals are familiar with Excel-based tools. They are able to get all of the information that they need and it's sufficient. However, there's some common limitations when it comes to data visualization or sharing it across your organization when it's in Excel. So it doesn't offer a one-stop shop of data from a particular viewpoint. It may be fragmented and you have to open up each one. The big one I think here is the limited ability for internal and external collaboration. So, you know, how many times have you downloaded an Excel-based tool, you save it in your OneDrive or Teams, and someone asks you for it, and you've got to send it, or I can't find it. Just having it in one spot that has everything, no Word documents. And it may be cumbersome to digest. So our solution was to develop a Power BI dashboard, which is following industry trends, right? More companies are adopting digital transformation initiatives to either enhance capital project performance, mitigate strategic and operational risk, or improve business intelligence. So this provides you an intuitive interface that has a consistent look and feel for more efficient, effective in communication to stakeholders across the organization, from leadership all the way down to project managers, project engineers. It allows for enhanced data visualizations with customizable views and interactive and dynamic visuals, so you can see it from a particular viewpoint. It allows for faster data processing, increases your speed and performance, and shortens that learning curve if you are trying to implement training. And then it provides a reporting template, as Jan had mentioned, to easily kickstart processes and controls development. So one thing I want to note that's important here is that the tool in Power BI is in the desktop version, which is free to all end users. So without further ado, we'll go through a demo here of the upgrade. And I'm going to walk through the Excel first and compare it to the Power BI. So say I was a user that was particularly interested in a project that's using the design, build, project delivery method in the construction phase of the project. Using the Excel, I need to open each of the best practices, each of the golden nuggets, each of the reports, each of the golden nuggets to view those detailed action items. I then need to look at the Gantt at the top to apply and see if it's applicable to that phase. In the Power BI, it's set up the same way as the Excel. So first we have our executive summaries. Instead of opening a Word document, you can now quickly filter on the left-hand pane to which best practice you're interested in. You get the executive summary. It allows you to copy that visual as a picture or export it into a Word document. It provides all the reports with the links that send you directly to the CII website. The report summaries are set up the same exact way. Quickly filter by that best practice. And here you're going to get the reports related to it, and then that next level of detail. So the link to the CII website, the summary of that report. You're going to get the key takeaways that you need, and similar to the previous visual, you can either copy the visual, copy the selection, or copy the wording to export it. The frequently asked questions that are in the BP primer, so instead of having to navigate from tab to tab, there's no quick way to say, oh, I want to see the frequently asked questions for lessons learned. You can just select it. Now, taking that same example that we did in the Excel base, say I'm interested in design build, I'll select that project delivery method, the top left. This is going to filter the entire page to only those best practices and those detailed action items that are particularly aligned to the design build across that Gantt chart. I can then filter by the process or the project phase, so if I'm only interested in detailed scope. And at the bottom left-hand side, I can filter by the best practice again. It will then show on the right-hand side which of those are applicable. It will give you any tool link to the CII website or a research report link. And then if I say I select all best practices, if it's not highlighted, it's not applicable to that phase of the project lifecycle. So you can see really quickly, instead of having to line it up, what is applicable. So ultimately, this allows you to push out to your organizations if you're interested. I know I went through this pretty quickly. We will be at the VIP booth downstairs. You can interact with the tool and come visit us to understand its capabilities. I'm going to pass it back over to Corey to provide provide a summary of today's presentation.
Thank you, Nate. The Power BI version of the tool has been a big hit. At Oxley, we recently published it on our Facilities and Construction homepage, and the early returns have been very positive. And as you can see up here on the slide, the tools are achieving the desired goals that we set out to accomplish. Here are just a few examples that we've already received from some folks who got some early access. And particularly, I want to highlight one here, the second to the bottom from the Oxy. Quote, I was familiar with PDRI, but I had no idea that there were 16 other best practices, end quote. And that one particularly hit home with me because before I joined this research team, that was me. I knew more than just one. It may have been 3 or 4, but I had no idea there were 17. And so going back to the original goal that we set out for, you first have to get that visibility before you can get the adoption. So what can you personally do today? This is your call to action. First, come see us at the VIP booth downstairs, which Nate just mentioned, and see the tool firsthand. We'll also be down there. You can talk with us. Not only are we very knowledgeable of the tool, but we are a lot of fun to hang out with, I will admit. Second, familiarize yourself with the 17 best practices and find elements to incorporate into your workflows. Even if you don't get widespread adoption at your organization day one, these things can still be extremely useful on individual projects. Same thing for the project complexity tool. Download PCAM 2.0. Familiarize yourself with the attributes and the corresponding management strategies. And finally, bring the tools back to your organization. How might you do that? I personally would recommend first refamiliarizing your organization with CII. Recently at Oxy, again, we hosted a lunch and learn series with our facilities and construction department, and we rolled out the tool, showed them how to use it, but we also highlighted the history of CII and kind of told them about some ways to get involved, including joining a research team like ours or even attending the annual conference. Even something as simple as sharing log instructions on how to access these reports on the CII webpage can bring a lot of value, particularly to a young engineer that's in your group. So before we wrap up, I just want to say a big thanks to our wonderful team. Dan, Ed, Alex, and myself were extremely fortunate to have such a passionate and engaging group, and it was truly an honor to work with each and every one of them, even Michael. But so on behalf of the entire RT398 team, we want to thank CII for allowing us to present here today, and we hope you enjoyed this presentation. Can't help it.
All right, well, thank you. I think I speak for everybody when I say 5 out of the 6 of you were simply brilliant. No. You couldn't have ended with any more passion, and I feel, in the spirit of me wearing a cowboy hat, I feel like I'm in City Slickers and just got the map to Curly's gold mine there. So let's get into some questions. Does anybody here remember City Slickers, by the way? I keep getting told that my references are wearing out. Whatever. Okay, can you expand on your use of AI in developing your tools and explain how it helped?
Yeah, so I guess initially when we started the research, actually AI just come out, right? So we just try to pilot an idea, how AI can help us to summarize those PDF files, and then we just upload it to the ChatGPT initially using the safety module as a pilot, and then we find out, it did help us summarize some of the key contents. But when I manually review it, when our team manually review it, there were some key contents he didn't pull out. So for example, some of the key bullet points, in the first page on the introduction or executive summary, AI cannot well pick it up. So we just find out, maybe more of the validation we needed. So later on, we just integrate, human experts, try to, revise the content AI pull out. So that's kind of like the first step. We pilot the AI idea. And later on, because accessing the experts for our industry is kind of like very expensive because most of the people are pretty busy. So there was one technique called language model as a judge that can provide you can provide some metrics to the AI and ask AI to identify whether the summarized key things are very important, are accurate, are representative for those PDF files. So we deployed that method. And also, one of our members is kind of interested in, more streamlined, easy button solution, given the hints by the ChatGPT. So, we come up with our own little AI chatbot type, just pilot an idea, and then we upload some of the, CI research reports, and then users can type questions and then get the answers from those reports. So.
Okay, our next question, and this is a popular one, Deborah. We sat in the same deployment committee and talked about this the other day. Has CII made a commitment to keep the primer up to date? It will need to be revised annually as new publications come out.
Yes.
Yes,
That was-
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
For those of you that don't know, that was Keith saying that yes, in fact, he has committed to making sure it's updated.
But
He
I
owns
will
it. Put it
add,
on the racy chart.
I will add one thing is, if we don't use the tool, then there will be no reason to keep it updated. So it's important that the tool gets used out there.
Okay. All right. Next question from Sean. How does the tool line up with the questions in the data warehouse best practices evaluation?
Say that again?
How does the tool line up with the questions in the data warehouse best practices evaluation? You want to take a follow-up on that one? Follow-up action?
Yeah, let us.
Yeah.
Not
yeah,
sure
well-
how to
Are they
answer.
referring to like 410? Is that what they're referring to?
Sean, you in here?
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's that best practices evaluation in the data warehouse, right? It's kind of telling you, evaluating, yeah, this is what it was for them. Hey, how well is your organization implementing best practices? So you kind of see a correlation here, apples to apples, between those questions, that evaluation tool, everything that you guys have lined out in best practices. I would think there's some similarities there.
Okay.
I think it should be okay.
Yeah, maybe I'll start.
Yeah.
So I think, there was one team, I think benchmarking team, they were trying to evaluate how mature your organization actually deploying a CI Best Practices tool, right? But actually, when we go to the CI website, there was just tons of the information. If you want to dig on the key things, you're going to read a lot of pages of the reports. So our tool is more like an operation of the, implementing CI Best Practices. That's where you can, put your hands on those different golden nuggets, detailed action items. Really depends on, what project phases you are working on. So it provides more like a detailed step that you can follow to implement the CI Best Practices. So I guess as long, more and more companies are, implement the tools, we expect the tools can actually make the impact in the organization. So, more and more industry members can understand what CI Best Practice is, and I hope that will improve the maturity of the implementation. So,
Okay, got another AI question. What's preventing CII from moving the Excel/Power BI version to an AI agent version?
wow, that's a tough one. But yeah, I guess, Excel always has a relative low learning curve because every expertise already know the, Excel pretty well. But like Power BI, I'll say initially when you put your hands on that, there might be a little bit learning curve. Try to understand the interface. I'll say the interface right now is not, everybody familiar with that. So, that's one step we want to see, how Power BI actually can make an impact. Regarding the AI, definitely there was a lot of AI opportunities over there. CI Best Practices can serve a really good knowledge repository that users can always try to find the solutions from here. So I guess there was potential we can, embed this knowledge to the, AI chatbot somehow in the future. And then when users start having the question based on the project phases that they are working on, they can start typing the question and then get the knowledge from these best practices. So.
Yeah, let me add real quick. I know we were supposed not to keep going on and on, but I also want you to think about in that situation the ease of the ability for you to bring these tools back to your company. So I work for a federal agency, and the ability to bring in outside files and tools into a federal agency is not that simple, right? So you got to go through a process of making sure what you're bringing in is safe. And we all know in this room CII is safe, but to convince your IT department of that, they're going to want to review the files, right? So if you have an Excel file or a Power BI, that's probably easier to do. And I'm sure as we move through in the AI world and technology improvements, people are going to get more comfortable with that too. But we wanted to make sure there was a tool that was ease of use, right, and ease of access. And so giving these two options, you have a good range right now of what you can bring, how easily you can bring that back and use it. And make it work for your company. So.
Beautiful. Well, everybody, if you're trying to figure out how do I get value from CII, go read everything you can from Research Team 398. They gave you the map, the keys to open the treasure chest, everything. So let's hear it for the Fit for Purpose tools for implementing CII best practices team.